Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page. Then click on View Agenda.
Good morning. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning and welcome to the July 22nd meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. I have a psalm here that I read this morning. It's Psalm 18, 1 and 2. It says, I love you, Lord. You are my strength. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my Savior. My God is my rock in whom I find protection. He is my shield, the power that saves me, and my place of safety. Amen. Commissioner Lundy has our sweet, sweet dog from the kennel this morning.
I thought so too.
Hey, buddy, we're going to try to go for a little walk here. You ready? Here we go. Oh.
Don't step on her.
Oh,
Don't abuse the dog, Commissioner.
Yeah, no, I'm not, believe me, I'm not dragging him out here. If he wants to come out, he comes out. Okay, here we go. Let's see. All of 12 weeks old, and we found him in the city of Elyria. He wanted to be here for a commissioners meeting, right? Okay. And we have about 27 dogs over at the kennel. So this little buddy, who I'm sure is not going to stay little too long, is certainly going to need a home. So if you can help us out, contact the kennel and we'll get a good home for this guy. Okay?
Madam Clerk.
At 9:45, we'll have a presentation on county state revenues. Under resolutions, number 1, investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
No travel, bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cortez.
Thank you, Madam President. I know I want to at least talk to you about on negotiations at 911 that I think concluded yesterday.
Oh, good.
I want to brief you on that. I also want to brief you on potential sale and purchase of real estate, ongoing legal matters, and also I have some potential hires at the dog kennel, job, family service, Golden Acres. I'd like to talk about those applicants with you. All of those subjects are allowable under the Sunshine Act for executive session discussion, so that's at the conclusion of a regular board meeting, we go into executive session and we talk about those items. Thanks.
Thank you.
Approve waive the reading of the minutes of July 15th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Approve the salary adjustment for new Overland City Municipal Court Chief Bailiff William Gindra effective August 1st, 2015 at a biweekly rate of $642.88, which reflects the county's 2/5 share since Randall Widener will retire July 31st.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Approve the fiscal year 2016 NOACA due allocations for Lorain County in the amount of $102,532.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Authorize commissioners to be a petitioner on behalf of Carlisle Township trustees to implement the process of vacating Garford Road right-of-way to the south of Callahan Drive, with the exception of the 150-foot from the center line of the road, Carlisle Township, Lorain County, in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code 5553.04.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. Cortez, can you elaborate a little bit on number 12? Don't recall really hearing much about this.
I don't think, I just
On
received a
the
petition
vacating of the
from
road?
Carlisle.
You just received it from Carlisle? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been
Just-
filed,
okay.
so the Carlisle's usually here.
Bill's here.
Bill's here.
Do you have any input on this, or just, you have to come up? No? Okay. Thanks.
This just starts the process for me to file it with engineers to review.
Okay.
And then I'll come back.
All right.
Okay.
I thought maybe I missed something.
No.
Okay. Thanks.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under Job and Family, purchase service agreement with Shopping Center Maintenance Company in Leary in the amount of $930 to provide sweeping services for agencies' parking lots effective September 1st, 2015 through August 31st, 2016, and authorize director to execute on behalf of the Board of Prosecutors' approval as to form.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under Sanitary, certified delinquent sanitary sewer accounts to the auditor for collection on the tax duplicate 2015 for 2016 collection.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
You do that.
Approve the agreement for construction of sanitary sewer improvements and for the provision of sanitary sewer services with Pheasant Run Association.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. Cordez?
Please.
You know, I'm gonna defer to council. You know, I got to tell you, a lot of people have been doing a lot of heavy lifting on this, but you know, Jerry was the one that really had to finesse this at the end with getting all the various parties with their E's and I's and T's and else done. So I'm just going to defer to council.
Okay.
No, he's been yelling at me for 3 months to get this, so now he's trying to make up. Yeah, this is the culmination of a lot of heavy negotiations, and first of all, I want to give my thanks to the people at the village of LaGrange, because they have worked to help work this out. You know, the idea is to attempt to remedy some sewer problems out with the Pheasant Run people that have existed as long as I've been a prosecutor. So, you know, this is going to be one of the great solving of problems if we can do this. Basically, what we're doing is we're entering a flow agreement with the village of LaGrange, where they would agree to accept the flow, and then secondly, there's an agreement with the Pheasant Run Association, where they're essentially agreeing to allow us to go through. Now, we're going to have to go through the process, you know, anytime we do a sewer improvement, except they're going to get us something saying they all agree, and so that we can go through and make the necessary assessments and so forth to get the sewers fixed up and get them tied into the village of LaGrange. There will be a few areas outside the village, you know, that are currently tied into that sewer system that we're going to bring in. So we've still got some steps to go through, but we're trying to rush it along because we have a chance to get some maybe grant funding that might help these people. That might be a little bit of a shot in the dark, but if we can take that shot in the dark, we're going to try and do it, which is kind of why we've zoomed it in to try and get all the documents signed up and going. But it's not an easy fix, but hopefully it will resolve, like I said, a problem that's been at least 30, 35 years in existence.
So are we going to be dismantling their current package plant and then going to LaGrange?
Well, you know, there's like I said, Jerry has been really finessing this. He's been noodling on it for quite a while. That's the favorite term of our attorney out of Columbus. I'm going to noodle on this. Okay, it's been noodle on it for a year. I got a little frustrated. Yes and no. Just a point of history, there's currently in excess of 550 homes in Pheasant Run, with a complete build out to 850 plus homes. There's a lot of undeveloped lots that had to be taken into consideration. We did find out along the way there were a few people outside the Pheasant Run Association that were allowed to tap into their package plan some time back. That was new to us. We have to deal with that issue also because they are feeding into the package plant. They will not be under the umbrella of the association, so that is another complexity, but I don't think it's that huge of a complexity, but we'll still have to work that out. Pheasant Run has been under EPA orders and findings for some time. Their plant's been failing, as Jerry said, as long as I've been with the county. Pheasant Run has always been a topic that comes and goes, never with a good ending. So we're going to build a force main all the way up to LaGrange. LaGrange is adding another ring. Some of the complexities there is that they don't want to do their build out until they're sure we're going to be able to give them product. So the time frames of who's doing what become critical to make sure that there's not debt service necessary on various components of this when there's no income coming in from product. We will dismantle their package plant. We're going to convert it into what we call an equalization system because you can't possibly pump on demand. So it'll be a big equalization tank. That tank fills up, and then we pump periodically up to LaGrange. It's not on all the time. So we're going to get some benefit out of some of that package plant out there now, and the rest of it will be obviously dismantled and taken down. The biggest problem here is their on-site system that's in the roads now. It is in, oh my God, it's in worse condition than anything I've seen before. As an example, they put in some new electrical street lights, and the contractor just punched through the sewer and ran the cable in the sewer. And there's all kinds of illegal taps, downspouts. We haven't only begun to scratch the surface on this. The biggest cost is not going to be the force main and pumping station up to LaGrange. The biggest cost is going to be repairing the on-site system. There is so much I&I coming into that system now, there's no way we could pump anywhere with that. Not only is the capacity not there, the EPA is not going to allow us to have that much I&I as we pump up to LaGrange. It's going to be millions of dollars to take care of these problems on site, and after that, we're not sure about the condition of the laterals from a lot of these homes. Many of them were built years and years ago as a low to moderate income type area. So we're not sure that all the laterals there are in sound condition. We have the same problem down at Eaton Estates right now. 80% of the laterals down there are failing in one way or another. We're trying to work on a reline project down there. We have 450 homes down there. It can get very expensive. In our cost analysis, we have not included the laterals. That is a homeowner issue. So there's going to be some additional complexities to this as we move forward. I guarantee you will go from hero to zero before this is over. Okay? The people were so happy when you rescued them or tried to rescue them because they came to us. So let me remind us that they came to us, but that'll quickly, I'm sure, change to what are you doing to us?
Right, when it starts hitting their pocketbooks.
And it's going to hit big. They don't have a choice, though. And we have an obligation since they approached us to work out their solution. So I just want to caution you next year when you're being called different kinds of names that they asked us to come there. Let me repeat it. It will be forgotten. You've been down this road. We've been down this road.
Right. No good deed goes unpunished.
This one's going to be punished severely in the end, I think.
And we don't stand to gain anything by doing
Nothing.
this. We're there just to help them, so hopefully they'll remember that.
Well, we'll try to remind them, but soon they'll forget that the EPA is on them. They also have lots of litigation out there. They're supposed to be supplying sewer to another 300 lots. They don't even have the ability to treat what they have now, so there's been litigation because the owners of those lots were guaranteed sewers when they purchased the lots, and there's more cross litigation, more problems out there than you can imagine. I'm just want to deal with the sewer system and recognizing they have to give us their system. We have to take it. Like, and it's under the roads, and they have road problems, and they have everything, you know, going on that you can imagine out there. And I did meet with the LaGrange Township trustees, went over the Pheasant Run project with them, told them that we were going to have some additional meetings with homeowners as we progressed. We have to get, there's no sense having meetings until all these agreements were in place. Now that everybody's signed off, once the Board of Trustees for the association signs off, then I want to sit down and arrange some meetings, not official public meetings as of yet, but just some informational meetings. And quite frankly, we may just go out to, they have a hall out there, we may just go out there and have a chat with them. I hope that goes well. So yeah, this has been a long slug, and it's still got a long way to go. But I want to thank Jerry and his team and our engineers, and I mean, Kay put in a lot of work on this with their folks, and it's just, I'm just pleased that we're at this point.
Thank you, and thank you, Jerry.
Yeah. Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Approve the sanitary sewer service agreement with the Village of LaGrange for Pheasant Run.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Under Workforce, approve and enter in a data sharing and confidentiality agreement with Ohio Department of Job and Family Services to receive confidential unemployment and wage record data, which will be used to access outcomes for participants who are served through Ohio Means Jobs, Lorain County, for period July 1st, 2015 through June 30, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Approve and enter Ohio Department of Job and Family Services WEO sub-grant agreement for 2015-2016 state fiscal biennium effective July 1st, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Did you have anything about, you'd like to speak
Well,
about this?
You know, we all are, didn't dramatically change the environment of workforce development, but it did transform a few things that we need to deal with. We're now waiting on the state. They're in litigation, well, pre-litigation, I would call it. Area 7 didn't disband. You remember I described Area 7 to you. It's a huge workforce development area that stretches from Erie County all the way down, I think, to Chicago or someplace, all the way to Appalachia.
43 counties.
It's pretty huge. I got to tell you, holding that together during the transformation, I didn't think it was going to happen. I got to tip my hat to the fellows down there and to a couple of county commissioners that are leading that organization. Just to hold 43 counties in place was a tremendous undertaking, and they did it. I don't think the state thought that was going to happen. With Area 7 staying together, that didn't leave us with a whole lot of options for partners. And so, under the requirements, they were qualified to stay together. As soon as they held their consortium together and they submitted their application, the state denied it and challenged it. And so they've made an appeal. Area 7's made an appeal. I anticipate the state denying that appeal because they really want Area 7 to disband. And then Area 7 will almost certainly make a federal appeal. And I think that they're probably going to be successful because they do meet all the criteria. You know, so you can't expect these things when they're writing that law, but they have to follow the law. It's their law. If Area 7 stays together, I think that we stand a better chance of keeping Area 4 on its own. If Area 7 disbands, I think we're going to be forced to, again, go back and look for partners and not remain an independent area that we are now. I believe the state's learning their lessons with Area 7. That's why they haven't ruled on any of the other areas yet that have submitted their applications either to change or to remain as an independent area. Lake County's in a similar situation to us. They submitted similar to the way we did. I believe now we probably won't see, if you remember it was July 1st of next year, we had to be in a new collaboration, had to work out the bugs through 15 and 16. If this drags on at the state and federal level, I'm thinking it probably will be pushed back a year to give time to build these things. If not, we could be in a real panic rush to find a partner and get married. So time is going to be of the essence with the state and the federal government, but those things don't move quickly there. So we're moving on. We're starting to make the changes we need to ensure compliance with the WIOLA Act, and we'll be bringing some of those things to you over the next several months. And one of those things is, while I'm hopeful that we'll remain an independent area still, we need to realign the WIB board a little bit differently because the criteria is different for the WIB board, so I'll be working with you on that. You make the appointments to the WIB board. So more to come. This is what keeps the job exciting.
Right.
It never seems to stay the same very long.
Always a challenge.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Cortez?
I have no further comments this morning. We have a presentation, and so I'll just move on.
Do you want to do the presentation, or do you want to go do reports first? Okay, let's do our presentation.
Okay, Mrs. Hobart.
She's been working overtime. Put a lot of work into this, I see.
Hopefully it's for the best, for the good.
Good, that'd be nice. That'd be real nice. He's gonna swap with us, right?
Yeah. I believe you all have printouts, correct?
Yes.
Nada.
I
I
saw
have it.
Sandy put it in there, okay. Tony does have a couple extra copies. If there aren't enough, if anybody would like this emailed to them, just give Tony your email address. I'll be more than happy to send it out. So what we're gonna, just kind of some dialogue going back and forth. A lot of these slides are on our revenue losses and,
Lisa, let me lead in for you
Sure,
here,
go
okay?
ahead.
Commissioners, last week we passed the annual tax budget. It's always a non-event. It's required by law. It's archaic. It's old. It's probably one of those things that should be put to rest and changed, because I don't know of any counties that don't rely fully on their annual appropriation that happens in December rather than the tax budget. But we go through those gyrations. Before that, Commissioner Lundy had talked about some analysis and looking at some of the things that have occurred. We built upon that more fully to really take a harsh look at what's happened in the county in the last three-quarters decade, and where money may be going that's leaving the county and not returning to the county. So we started drilling into that, and I think you're going to find some of these figures interesting. We tried not to slant them so much that they look ridiculous, but they're fairly accurate, and you're going to see a growing trend here that we'll talk about through the presentation. And I think it's very important for the public to see this, because they continue to deny us an increase in our revenue streams. I don't think they understand what we're going through. So with that, Lisa, why don't you take us in, and we'll have some dialogue.
Okay. So this first slide here, let me move this out of the way. Basically shows the county revenue from 2007 through estimated 2015. You can see that huge dip there between 2008 and 2009. A lot of that was due to interest income, drops in fees, which are coming, we'll have here on the next couple slides here.
But what they're looking at there is, by the bottom of 2012 was about a $12 million change.
Right.
So we should put that right on top of that $12 million with a big down arrow. While we've recovered some of that, we should have been growing on the top end of the revenue, and you can see there was no growth on the top end. At bottom, we're bringing some of the revenues increased, but nowhere near where it was before.
And overall, we're going to show Lorain County's lost over this span of years here almost $70 million in revenue between fees and disbursements from the state of Ohio. So here's our interest revenue, and I know Commissioner Kokoski very well aware of this. She likes
I
to
pound
reference
this
it a
all the
lot.
time,
Yes,
yeah.
definitely. So, I mean, there it is in the numbers there. In 2007, we were collecting 8.3 million. And 2015, we are estimated to bring in $1.1 million.
Now, for those out that may catch this presentation, let me explain that we have a very restricted set of guidelines that we can invest under with the county's funds. The county general fund gets all the interest that comes in on funds that are out there with levy operations, such as the 911, the DD, et cetera, children's service, mental health. So that money is always invested. There's money in, money out, and we have a certain amount of liquidity. This is one thing I can't fault the state for. This is not their fault. It's not your fault. It's not Dan Taleric's fault or the investment advisory committee. It's simply that we're so restricted in the investment options that we usually bottom out very, very strongly when the bond market is suffering. That's our major vehicle for investment. And I will tell you, this is not going to end anytime soon. Tomorrow, if the yield curve starts to move upward, we're still going to be 3 years behind that yield curve. You're not going to see a substantial change in these numbers. In fact, you see a glide down in them. You're going to see the same curve going up when the market starts to improve, because we're in 1 year, 2 year, 5 year vehicles of investment. So we'll chase the yield curve. It's just that it's never stayed this low for this long.
We don't have the opportunity to invest in the stock market like a private citizen does, or a
No,
mutual fund.
No, we're strictly in. We look at the bond market and very, very secure devices that can be used to generate revenue. I went through one of these drops in the yield curve about 15 years ago, but it only lasted 2 or 3 years, right. and so the yield was pretty steeping up, but we've not been able to get through it, and no community has been able to get through it. So you're not going to see relief if the market moves for probably 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Good for people borrowing, not good for people saving and investing.
Well, it's a perfect time for people that are new homeowners,
right.
and borrowers. If you've been able to survive through the economic downturn or you're recovering from it, it's a pretty good opportunity to lock yourself in right now for the American dream, which is always home ownership.
Right. So our next slide here is conveyance fees revenue, and the conveyance fees are fees that are collected through the auditor's office, transfer of homes and whatnot. And obviously you can see a pretty big decline. Again, this is just due to the real estate market. Started taking a little bit of a dive there in 2008. You can see on the trend, it is kind of coming back up a little bit. This is another close to a little over $10 million in fees to date since 2007 that the county's lost in revenue, which again is just due to the recession that we're going through. Our next slide is recording fees, which kind of relates to the conveyance fees. Approximately $1.5 million. Judy does seem to be coming back a little bit on that. This year her estimate is at $1.1 million. And actually I had a discussion with her a couple weeks ago, and we're going to review it again in September. She's hoping maybe we can increase that estimate a little bit more.
Once again, the recording and the conveyance fees indicate economic activity in Lorain County, as well as the sales tax. I think the 15 estimates are good, but they're probably on the very conservative side. I've been watching the sales tax; it's been ticking pretty well. So I think the conveyance fees will be at least as strong as last year, and the recording fees may be up a bit. We know that the county's on the right move because we watch the sales tax. It's a good indicator of how people feel. They start spending, they're buying bigger items, and so generally that says that the outlook is improving. Plus, the unemployment rate has, while it hasn't reached the lows we'd like it to reach, has been we're maintaining a steady decline, or at least frozen at a level that's not as bad as it was a few years ago.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about the Ohio Housing Trust Fund, and I'm going to leave this graph up here a little bit while I give you a little bit of background on it. In 2003, the Ohio legislature doubled the cost of recording fees charged by the recorder's office, and the additional fees were to be sent to the state. The county was to keep none of those fees. By doing this, it created a permanent dedicated funding source for the Ohio Housing Trust Fund, and it was no longer reliant on the state's general fund. Since 2003, when these fees were instituted, Lorain County has sent $17.2 million of fees collected through the recorder's office. Approximately $164,000 of that has been sent back and deposited into the general fund for admin costs for what the recorder's office has done.
How generous.
An estimated $6.7 million of that $17 million has come back to the county via grants to assist with homeless shelters, rehab assistance, and transitional housing organizations within the county. An important thing here to know is that it was also determined that if the state received over $50 million within a given year from all the counties within the state in Ohio Housing Trust Fund fees, anything over and above that $50 million went to the state's general revenue fund.
Now that occurred in the years when they raised the sales tax, the 1% that was temporary for 2 years, that part of it became permanent without a vote of the taxpayers, obviously. And what Lisa's going to tell you is they put $62.5 million since then in their general fund revenue. They haven't put any in a number of years because everybody's been down, so the fees haven't exceeded $50 million. But as economic activity improves around the state, we'll see more of that fund surplus. There was a provision in the budget bill. I don't know if it survived all the cuts. I have not been able to wade through that whole thing, where 50% of what was going to be paid into the Ohio Housing Trust Fund would go to the local community for the chief elected officials to work out how to distribute it in their communities. I sent you an email on that sometimes back. I have to follow up on that to see if it survived.
I don't think it did. I think it's being moved forward as a single piece
Is
of
it?
legislation,
Okay.
correct? Yes.
I just haven't looked back on that, but I remember I told you we'll have to be prepared for this if that occurs. The key element here is that they took $17.2 million and we got back about, with the admin fee, about $6.9 million. That's local monies that, I don't understand how they can put $17 million in the Ohio Housing Trust Fund to help indigent people, homeless people, single parents, emergency shelters, and somehow we come out of that whole equation $10 million short.
And it rolls up on the big years into the general fund.
Well,
Right.
and I
That
want
was
to
years
say,
2004 through 2007 as a whole. That $62 million went into the general fund.
now, the 6.7 was an estimate because we can only go back so many years with the data of how many programs they funded in Lorain County. So to be fair, we took an average and we ran it backwards. It's an estimate. That number could be off plus or minus 5 to 6%, but it's still a dramatic.
Well, Judy
change.
Nedlett talks about this all the time, about us not getting our fair share back in the.
Well, we're a
housing
donor
trust fund.
county. We're
Right.
not a recipient county. And once again, that's $10 million that didn't get spent in our community, turned in our community, multiplied in our community to help people here.
That's
Okay.
why I tried to stress in Columbus that it's, when I was in the legislature, saying it's not our money down here. It's, the residents' money, the taxpayer money. If they send the money down to Columbus, it should be going back to the communities.
Right.
And this is an example of, how
Yeah.
they do things.
I actually could have done quite a few slides on this. I did a lot of reading on it, and I decided to scale it down a little bit.
Well, I know you had to dig for a lot of these numbers too, because they
Right,
don't exactly put them right up there on the
No,
dashboard.
they do
They don't
not.
make
What
them
do you
easy.
see?
They
No,
don't
it
make them
does
easy at
not.
all.
Google is a great search engine, but it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to find some things.
They're not on the Ohio Transparency website yet?
They're not, I don't know,
Transparency.
is that checkbook?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about casino revenue, which is one of Ted's most favorite things.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So as you can, as you can see by this graph, I'll just kind of leave this up here a little bit. This is showing what Lorain County received versus what the state actually estimated that Lorain County would receive. In 2009, when the voters approved Issue 3 to build the 4 casinos, the state estimated that the casinos would generate at least $643 million in annual casino tax revenue as a total state to be dispersed. That was prior to them authorizing the VLTs of video lottery terminals at the racinos. Since May 2012, an average of $196 million per year in annual casino tax revenue has been collected by the state through June of this year. So there's quite a big drop there as to what they estimated versus what has actually been received. 90% of the casino tax revenue that's collected by the state is distributed to the local governments and school districts. 10% is being shared among state agencies. So I'm going to show you, these are the state agencies. Money that's gone into the state coffers for Casino Control Commission, Ohio State Racing Commission Fund, Law Enforcement, Gambling and Addictions Fund. $266 million has gone into the state student fund, which has taken the burden off of the state's general fund. And we can talk about this a little bit, and then the Racino money goes, everything goes to the state.
Let's get through the slides first.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one of the, the biggest slap in the faces that we've received from the state in recent memory.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So the remaining $439 million has been distributed to the 88 counties and the casino host cities. So here's Jim's slap in the face thing here, is Racetrack and Racino. Not long after the casino issue was on the ballot, then it was determined that the racetracks can now start using the VLTs, and there are now currently seven operating in the state of Ohio. So gross proceeds from those, the horse track operators, 66.5% goes to them. The Ohio Lottery gets 33.5%. And again, that 33.5% is transferred to the State Lottery Education Fund, used to help pay for the state share of education. Once again, more funds to help the state pay what they need to pay. No funds are distributed to any local governments. I mean, we get no money. Estimated loss of revenue to Lorain County, because people are going to the racinos and not the casinos, is about $4.8 million since 2012. I think Jim, do you want to elaborate a little bit?
Slip to the graph on the Racino so you can just take a look at that. Look, Ted, if you want to jump on it, you can. What's that?
You're going to be all over that, Mr. Cordez.
Well, look, the state promised that during the change for casino gambling in Ohio, they worked out a distribution formula. I always suspected that their numbers were a bit pie in the sky, but it looked like the distribution was going to be at least better for the local communities. And at that time, they had been trying for a number of years to get Racino gambling on the racetracks. It was denied. The issue was going to be the casinos, and there was not going to be any Racino gambling, and thus we would get a share of the funds. Every local government would get a share of the funds around the state. It wasn't long after all of that they legislated in the Racinos and then took that revenue and drove it differently than the agreement made with the taxpayers of this state. Let me say it again, an agreement made with the taxpayers of this state that voted on this. And this was without a ballot amendment or a change. And to us, $5 million is since 2012 is quite a bit of money. We just weren't able to go back and look at the numbers more fully. And those numbers are going to continue to deprive local communities, including Lorain County, of the revenue dollars they were promised when casino gambling was on the ballot before the taxpayers.
Well, actually, to bring you up, the original proposal, Lorain County's share was going to be approximately $8.1 to $8.3 million based on the revenue estimates, which we knew was going to be heavy, but still we could have anticipated anywhere from $5 to $6 million a year.
Right.
And the state legislature, prior to this current administration, the past administration had shut down that governor's attempt at the video lottery terminals, because Mr. Lundy was there. Casino passed by vote of the taxpayers, and then they decided they didn't get enough, so then the legislature passed a law stating that we can do the video lottery terminals, and they then siphoned off more dollars from our local government fund versus giving us our local government funds and leaving those alone. They took not only those, they also took the anticipated revenue of the casino gaming. And that's one of my issues. I was going to bring it up during my comments now, but it's probably the best thing because this was voted on as a constitutional amendment. And currently, even though I haven't fully endorsed it, Responsible Ohio is having the same issue. They're on a 10-day process now to get an additional 30,000 signatures, while the House and the Senate have come up with a bill to challenge that at the ballot with a dual ballot incentive and who might be the highest vote getter and who becomes first and might be. But the State House, when they've ignored a process that's been discussed, because casino went back to the late 80s when I was working on Alan Spitzer's proposal and taking to the first the State House and then taking it to the ballot, it comes forward and then you have a knee-jerk reaction from the state legislature, which then penalizes the local government revenues that should be coming based on ballot issues, is no different than what's happening with this Responsible Ohio. And depending on your position, either legalized medical, which I'm a proponent of, or not at all, the legislature is making these decisions to hinder our opportunity to vote. No different than what the charter form of government was trying to do and eliminate elected officials and give us less to vote on as countywide. You know, it just keeps hitting us where we have to provide the local services. I mean, whether you like or dislike legalized pot, if it's going to bring a couple $1 million more in the county government and allow us to provide the services we need to provide, I mean, it's something we should have the opportunity to vote on the ballot. So, I mean, no different from what happened here, and they came back and then took out $3 to $4 million from Lorain County.
Yeah, you know, I mean, because I was there when this was unfolding, and the racetracks always cried poor. The racetracks always said that, you know, we're just having a tough time making ends meet. And so obviously we'd like to see these terminals, you know, slot machines, I mean, it's just call them what they are, in our facilities. And so we were willing to work with them, but I know I had pushed hard and my colleagues had pushed hard to say that there needs to be parity because we have an agreement with the taxpayers of Ohio when these casinos came in, and the racinos shouldn't be treated differently. Wow, you would have thought we were trying to take their firstborn child or something from the racetrack industry. And you know, they stood their ground and they did some interesting maneuvers. And an example I can give you is that when we talk about the problem gambling and addiction fund, basically 2% is supposed to go into those funds. Right. And I had, and I was finally told by the sponsor of the bill when we were putting some guardrails in place around the racinos, Matt, you've pestered me enough. Okay, we'll give you the 2% for the gambling addiction that matches what the casinos have to do. And it went from 2% when it left the House, then it went to committee, and the Senate changed it to 1%. We're talking gambling addiction now, right? You know, it's not like some foo-foo, you know, fun, slushy fun. Exactly. We're talking about something that actually helps people. Right. And they cut it to 1%, and then on the floor they cut it to 0.5%. And it ended up being maybe about $5 million overall. You know, and I remember the morning that I got the call from one of the senators about it, saying, Matt, you're going to hate me about this, but we're going to actually, we've cut it in half. We're going to cut it in half again. And you know, it just made no sense, but it's all because the racetracks, again, were crying poor. I've been to racinos. Nobody's crying poor over there anymore.
I think there are a couple of them. Yeah. They're adding on and expanding.
Right,
and,
right.
Yeah.
But you know, the bottom line is that, you know, I agree with you, Jim, and with my colleagues that there was an agreement with the citizens of Ohio as to how this money was going to be distributed. The racinos should have to follow the same procedures, and to show just how low you can go, I bring up the whole gambling addiction issue of it should have been 2%. It ended up being 0.5%. So, you know, I feel like whatever agreement, the agreement that was made with the voters of Ohio certainly, I think, was broken throughout this whole thing. And this is just another example of another broken promise. There's just a string of these broken promises in Columbus.
Right. So. Okay.
Now we get to another favorite topic, the personal property tax and the commercial activity tax. Another failed promise.
Yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit. I'll put this chart up here. This is Lorain County. I went back to 2003 on this, and Jim might want to elaborate a little bit more on this, but I'll talk a little bit on it. The commercial activity tax was enacted in 2005. Funds collected by the state were used to make payments to school districts and local governments to mitigate the revenue loss from the personal property taxes that the state began to phase out in 2005. Lorain County received funds, as you could see on the chart, beginning in 2006 through 2000, tiny bit in 2011, to try and shore up any revenue losses due to the outgoing personal property tax. Effective 2013, which we received nothing, and we received nothing in 2012, 50% of CAT tax collections are deposited into the state's general revenue fund, 35% go to the schools, and 15% go to local governments. And as you can see, we're not getting anything now.
You know, I remember back in the early years when they were looking at the personal property tax and trying to change the tax scheme in the state of Ohio. You know, it was a huge move, because I first became aware of just how significant the states could just legislate away local revenue, and they didn't legislate away the need that it was being spent on, and they didn't supply us with additional revenue. There was some fine people down there during this time period that fought to get that make whole for a few years, that helped us out, that gave us a little bit of a lifeline to try to deal with this. But you know, how would you like to be in business and all of a sudden somebody just says, well, you know, you're going to continue to produce the same product, but now we're taking away X, but you still got to do the same job.
Ask the cities about the estate tax.
Well, you know, we didn't get into the estate tax
Right,
because
that's
it didn't
unique.
affect,
Right.
but I did talk to Lisa about that. I almost wanted to have slides in here about how it impacted the townships and the cities, because townships also were a big recipient of estate tax. Many of the township halls and garages were built on when they got those estate settlements, and we were talking about tens of millions of dollars throughout the community. The reason it's not in here, and maybe it should have been, because what happens in those communities does affect local government, but they saw a huge change, and it was just legislated away. Money that they were used to having to provide service to the residents was just a stroke of the pen, and they were gone. And that's what happened with this income. And as you can see at the bottom here, over the last couple of years, we would have had another almost $3 million of revenue to provide for the needed services in Lorain County. And we had really no say over how this went.
Okay. So another thing that we had no say-so over is public utility revenue.
This pretty much went the same way as the personal property tax.
Right.
Lisa.
In 2001, the public utility tax was enacted to replace losses to local governments and school districts due to the reduction in intangible personal property tax assessment rates. Currently, 88% of public utility revenue is paid into the state's general revenue fund, 9% to schools, and 3% to local governments. And I looked this up this morning, and I could tell you the only fund within Lorain County that is receiving any public utility money is our bond retirement fund, approximately $22,000 a year. Jim, anything more on that, or are you good with that? Or
No,
kind
I
of the
think I
same thing
whooped
as the-
this dog enough for a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
But let me reiterate, it's a legislative change to our revenue that we had no ability to deal with, but yet we were still required to provide the same level, if not more, services.
So this is going to be a real hot topic here, local government. And I'll leave that up there, and I'm sure everybody has something to say about this. Since 1989, the state has provided local subdivisions with an additional share of state tax revenues based on each county's share of the state population. Between 2001 and 2007, local subdivisions began seeing a freeze as revenue was distributed based on the amount they received during the previous year. So I'll stop there, because if you want to look at the little chart up there that we have in the upper right-hand corner, you could tell in 2003 we were bringing in $9.4 million in local government revenue, and we kind of stayed par through 2006. And in 2007 was when we got the big shift in the population, and we lost close to half.
Yeah, let me talk about the shift in population. I can't demonize the state for that, although I'd like to. We haven't talked about this in a number of years, but when I believe the percentage is 82-18 or 81-19.
Right.
Lorain County up until the early 80s had been still around 19-20% counted in the urbanized by census, which gave us 50% of the local government funds that came into Lorain County.
In the rural. You said in the
I
urbanized.
meant rural, pardon me, thank you. The rural end. Based upon the counts that came out and the change from using federal census data, they went to using Department of Development data that they counted more often.
And Lorain County doesn't use a statutory formula. We use an alternative formula to figure the distribution of the local government funds from the state.
Yes,
And they also were allowed to use the inmates in the jail too?
Good memory.
Yep.
And I was going to say that the big shift came when they were allowed to count the inmates in the correctional facilities as residents of the village of LaGrange, Grafton.
Yeah.
So that pushed it over the top. You know, the charge was led by the city of Lorain on this to try to get that in there. We did call down to the states. We fought that pretty hard about counting the inmates as residents of the village. And if you remember, when we did the reverse 911 alert, Grafton was mad because we counted the inmates as their residents for how much they were going to pay for it, and they
5 cents a resident.
Yeah, but they objected because they weren't really village residents. But I had to remind them of the
only when it benefits.
only that it benefited. But we took a substantial change in revenue in 2007. You can see the big decline. We went from 50% to 30%. I don't think I gave the second number. The good thing, even this has a good thing. That other 20% did get distributed to the other jurisdictions in Lorain County. It was a hard pill to swallow for us because our revenue streams are so tightly wrapped around sales tax mostly. But at least the money stayed in our community. I'm not going to begrudge those other jurisdictions the dollars. We weren't giving them outside the county, and that's a plus. But it was still
what happened
hard.
2 years later? Go ahead, Lisa.
2 years later?
Yeah,
2
what
years
happened in
later.
09?
Right,
Oh, when they,
2009.
well, go ahead.
2009 or 2012, Ted, which one?
Oh, take the first 50% hit
Yeah, so then we took another 50% hit in 2009
that the state kept.
that the state,
They
right.
didn't redistribute to our local communities. So
Right.
it wasn't like the reappropriation based on our alternative formula.
Right.
It was actually, they kept the money.
Yeah.
So we could basically say, as you could see that strong decline there, that's now all money that the state's keeping, that we're not getting anymore.
Let me also note for you, though, that while you're looking at the LGR, the same thing has happened to our libraries on the local government commitment to libraries within the community. You heard the two very nice volunteers that came in. I think it was Midview Library, and they were talking about how the changes in local government funds that were provided back to our community had diminished for the libraries too that are suffering through this. And least I forget to say, they're returning money that they take from here. And we got some more slides to show you just how much money really leaves this community. We're just showing you now the reductions in revenues and the failure to live up to commitments they made years ago.
Yeah, and that
There's a
that
typo
bump
on
there
here, I
in-
just noticed, so.
I was going to say.
Yeah, it's definitely, we've definitely lost a lot more than $8 million. There's a typo on this one slide here.
But that bump that we're showing in 2015, I think is a false bump. It's my understanding, I think the legislature put more money in the local government funds, but it was specifically targeted for, I think, townships with emergency, for fire departments or whatever,
Yeah.
to compete for some of that money. And
Our
so it
local
was- it's kind
government
of a-
revenue estimates come through the auditor's office, so that's what they put
Okay.
on the books
Yeah.
there.
Well, I just think that there are some conditions tied to some of that local government money that they put in there.
You think it's only 8.25 million?
No, absolutely not. That's what I just said.
More
That's
than that.
definitely a typo on there. And I don't have the number off the top of my head, but you can definitely, I will get that
Okay.
quickly.
Yeah, and I mentioned the number to you in our quick meeting before today's meeting, that the last number I received from Columbus before I left for Lorain County specific was, under the Kasich administration in the past 4 years, Lorain County has lost $48 million.
Right.
34 million in local government funding and 14 million to the schools. So,
Well, that's going to change your overall $70 million number, right?
No, I believe I had the correct number in there, but I will.
Okay, you just didn't have it on the slide? Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. I love the next slide.
Yeah, this is Jim's favorite. And I'll say it since, I will say, Casey, our purchasing coordinator, played a really big role in helping me put these graphs and stuff together, so credit to him there. So this shows the history of the state of Ohio sales tax. And it's pretty self-explanatory here. I can, when it was enacted, all their increases and decreases in between 2003 and 2013. They upped it, they took it back down, then they upped it again. This next slide here is going to show.
Can you drop back to the slide
Sure.
again? All of those increases were legislated,
Right.
just for the record. And you can see that they're at 6.75. They went from basically 3% up until 97. Now they're, 5.75. They're almost 2% above that since then. And
Well,
that's a lot of change.
when they raised it to 6%, they said they were going to drop it back down to 5%, but they ended up keeping half.
They kept half. The deal was, we're going to raise it 1% for 2 years, and that's it. I remember when the budget bill passed that year, and we were supposed to be grateful because they said, well, we're going to only repeal half of it, and it was another 0.5%. So, that represented, tens and tens of millions of dollars, but we got some numbers coming. But I just like this slide. Go ahead,
yeah,
please, sir.
but you'll hear from a certain new presidential candidate that, we have this great success story in Ohio and we didn't raise taxes. This shows what's been going on in Ohio. The argument was always made by the administration that since they were providing tax breaks on one side of the ledger and increasing sales tax on the other side of the ledger, that it was always revenue neutral. Because I was told in Finance Committee by Director Keene, the budget manager, and asked him several times, are we talking about tax increases here? Oh, no, we're not talking about tax increases. These are revenue neutral. And the governor will not be considering additional revenue because he has made an agreement with Grover Norquist not to raise taxes. And Grover Norquist, last time I checked, is not a resident of Ohio. But when you start to really pump up, the sales tax, if America wants somebody who believes in a reverse Robin Hood approach to economics, certainly Kasich is their man. Or if the wealthy individuals of this country want a great president, he's certainly their man. But he certainly hasn't taken care of, the middle-class families. And as was pointed out here today, the needs don't go away. The needs are still there.
And growing.
And growing,
Right.
absolutely. But we don't have the revenue to meet the needs. And as I used to always say in Columbus, I don't have any problem with giving tax breaks, but we still have needs that are out there to take care of. We need to make sure we address the needs first. And, I think even the paper pointed out appropriately that he hasn't handled education very well either. That's another area where they've received their share of cuts. So when you hear people bragging about we didn't raise taxes, especially folks in Columbus bragging about that, you all know that your taxes are going up. They're going up locally. And I keep repeating this number over and over again, but it's important for you to hear this, is that when you look at state taxes to state taxes, we're probably right in the middle, around 25th of the states. But when you factor in local taxes, because everything's been pushed down to the local level, all of a sudden the tax burden in Ohio ranks us about 5th overall with other states.
Okay. So this is a slide showing revenue for the state for what they've collected for sales tax. And as you can see, that just continues to grow and grow. This next slide and I do have some more information here that I've written down, but I didn't get it into the slide. This shows that in 2005, our sales tax revenue at 0.5% was about 14.7 million. So had we increased it by 0.25%, our receipts would have been 22.1 million. Had we increased it by 50%, our receipts would have been 29.4 million. Now, in saying that, I did a little bit of extra work, and again, I didn't get a chance to get into a slide, but in 2006, sorry, hold on, bear with me here for 1 second. Had we increased our sales tax receipts in 2006 0.25%, we would have brought in actual revenue of $142.5 million, difference of 73 million versus 2006 to now, which would have quite possibly helped us with our decline in our revenue from fees and things that the state's taking from us. So I apologize I didn't get into a slide, but I just kind of wanted to throw it out there.
You know, and I should have went over this slide, I didn't catch it last night. What I wanted to demonstrate here, and it's a little bit confusing, is that because of the 0.75% increase in the state tax over the last decade, if you look at the last scenario, they are now taking out tens of millions of dollars more while decreasing all of our revenue streams. 0.25% of sales tax right now equates to about 8.3 million.
Right around there, yeah.
So that's $25 million a year that is additional revenue in the last decade that's going down to the state.
Right.
And we're not seeing that return. We're seeing the return decreasing over the years rather than increasing, while we see an increase of the out dollars. This slide, we're going to go past this. It's just a little bit ill-prepared, but if you take that over how many years, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that could have been used to provide local services that went down to the state. You know, clearly somewhere towards the end of this, we're almost at the end, I'm going to hear how it's very easy to have a surplus fund and do all these things when you're making somebody else pay for what you used to pay for. If my neighbor comes over and pays my cable bill, I can certainly reduce my household expenses. It's pretty easy. All right, next.
It's a shame that this was never, I mean, this was just enacted by the legislature, where we've always gone to the ballot on these issues and not been successful. I mean, just 0.25% or the 0.5%. I've never been someone who said we shouldn't raise the sales tax. It's here to provide services.
I just want to.
But we've never been able to show a message like this. And I think I should have said 0.25%, 1/4,
I agree.
1/2 instead of
Yeah.
0.25 and 0.50, so that gets.
It was kind of a
clear on that
last-minute
slide.
thought. I apologize for that.
You know, because people look at 25%, not 0.25.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So-
You know, Commissioner, just for clarifications, we did go to the ballot, but we
Right.
did impose once.
Well, we did impose, but that ended up at the ballot because it was referendum.
It got
so-
referendum and
Right.
went to the ballot, but I just don't want anybody to misquote you.
Oh, yeah, but I
on-
mean, still, the state legislature is not a referendum when they pass it through a bill.
I understand, but we did impose once. It was referendum, it went to the ballot, and then we went to the ballot 2 times after that. So I just want to be clear so somebody doesn't misunderstand what we're saying.
Right, when you
Well, I
imposed
make
it,
that
we
clear.
collected 13.7 mil, almost 13.8 million for that year span.
This is a look at the tax rates by counties. It's always an interesting look. You can see that there's only 4 counties at 6. They have been 6.5, but that's the 0.75% piggyback tax. So there's only 4 counties in the whole state that share the distinction of being low. And I will suggest to you that those communities outside of Butler, because they're a fairly sizable community, are very rural communities that aren't providing for the needs of a heavy urbanized portion of.
Well, Stark should be with us also, which is Canton area, which is still, similar to Lorain County.
Right.
Stark and Butler are just above us in size. We're the 9th largest county. Butler's the 8th, and Stark is the 7th. so.
Yeah, it's hard to see on the slides just where we're positioned at, but you can see that the bulk of communities are at 7.25. And of course, that's an amazing number for providing services. Generally speaking, I can tell you that I think that we would be fine at 6.75 given the improvement in the community. 7% would allow us to provide services that are greatly needed but have never even been dreamed of being able to provide under the current revenue stream. But that's where we are. We're tied for last place with 3 additional communities.
Yeah, and every time
Cuyahoga County is the largest, and
Yeah,
how many
right.
people from Lorain County go to Crocker Park, and
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Exactly what I
Yeah.
wanted to say.
Yeah.
You know, when I would hold my town hall meetings, I would tell people, if you want to help our economy, shop here locally.
Absolutely.
There's, you know, it may be nice to roam around Strongsville Mall or Great Northern, but, you know, spend your money locally and it helps the local economy. Why anybody goes over to Cuyahoga County to make a purchase just because they like the food court at Strongsville Mall or
Right.
whatever the crazy reason may be is beyond me. But I know every time that I can't find something in Lorain County and I need to go over to Cuyahoga County to find it, I always think I'm being overcharged. And I look at the receipt and it's always the sales tax.
Right, right.
So,
So our next slide, and Jim asked me to put this in here, about current and guaranteed inside millage. As you can see, we are the second lowest. Hancock County is lower than us at 1.5 for inside millage, after reviewing that chart.
You know, the inside millage was an unvoted tax enacted in 1930 something, or 39, or it used to be 15 mils. I think it was decreased in 69 to 10 mils and redistributed. I can't tell you how the formulas were derived at, but I can tell you that Lorain County ended up being second to last on their portion of the inside millage of the 10 mils. And you can see the numbers there are pretty revealing with regard to our access to the inside millage. Couple that with the slide you just saw last, you know, it's not a good scenario.
Lisa, explain how much that inside millage is in direct dollars to us.
Direct dollars to, for our
Approximately.
general fund,
Yeah.
we currently bring in about 8.5 million
Okay.
in real estate taxes. And that's using 1.4 of those mills, because 0.2 goes into our bond retirement fund to pay down debt service.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna kind of defer to Jim on this. I think I
Well,
gave
you
you
know,
a little fact
I had to
sheet.
include this because, you know, transit funding has become a very hot topic over the last, at least the last year, but it's been a hot topic for a number of years. You know, we talk about revenue that we don't have coming in. We've lost roughly $5 million that we returned. We didn't lose it. We returned it. We had it. It was ours. We sent it back. I remember being thanked by the Sandusky Transportation Director for the new buses he bought with our money. And I can go into other discussions I've had with other communities where they were grateful for the money they got because Lorain County couldn't come up with a match money to money they were guaranteed by FTA. This is epidemic of a lot of things going on in Lorain County, but I'm using transit because it's a good visual. This is missed opportunities, and we have a lot of missed opportunities on federal dollars and grant dollars here for lack of having matching money. That goes for the airport, that goes for transit, it goes for other programming that we could do, that there's all kinds of different grants and initiatives out there, but you have to have a certain amount of the money, or you have to spend money doing the work and be prepared to ask for those things. And we have not had the deep enough pockets to be able to do those things. When you look at the $4.5 million, multiply that at least once, because that's $4.5 million that we didn't get in our future allocations because we didn't spend it. We are now struggling to take the remaining operating dollars that are significant to several million that were allocated for, transform those operating dollars into brick and mortar dollars to finish the rail passenger line up there, which I just don't know whether we're going to get done or not. The state gave us $500,000 in toll credits to match FTA dollars. I can tell you we're still $500,000 short in local funds to match those funds. If we don't figure it out, we won't have a project and we'll lose another $7 million. That's real dollars. It's allocated already. And when I say $3 million of that's coming through Amtrak from their federal dollars towards this project cost to finish up the passenger line. So, you know, it's only getting worse.
Well, it's Jim, every event I go to, 9 out of 10 of them, I was at the Best of Lorain County, we all attended on Wednesday night. Had 2 transit conversations with people. I stopped by the Rover Fest event in Lorain at Black River Lane to see how it was going down there in the early evening. I had 2 more conversations with people who need the transit and don't have it, asking questions. I don't think there's any place I go that transit doesn't come up in a conversation when there's a group of people. It's
the challenge here is, I don't think Lorain County is unique, but it's dramatic, the change that occurs after you pass Oberlin. You know, our community has this really, really great urbanized flavor on the northern end of the community, and then you go south and you have this really, really great rural flavor to your community, and it really creates some dynamics that are hard to overcome when you're going to provide transit services and you're asking for, you know, dollars to pay for those services. I know we have to figure it out because these are missed opportunities, and these missed opportunities are tens of millions of dollars. And I can tell you, you know, when that money's spent, it's spent at a local facility, and then it's paid in wages to somebody, and then that money's spent. And you know, the rule of thumb is 3 to 5 on the churn. So if you have, let's say for instance, we missed opportunity over the last 3 or 4 years of $10 million, which I know is low. That's $30 to $50 million of churn in our community that we don't have. And we can't continue to be a donor county. Remember, the money that doesn't come in federal dollars is still money being paid in federal taxes. We're a donor at the federal level. We're a donor at the state level. And we need to reverse that trend. And the only way to do it is because everybody requires a certain amount of local money to be in. They're reducing what they give us, but asking us to put money in. How do you bridge that gap?
Yeah, there's obviously a community group's been meeting on a regular basis to discuss transit, and we'll be resuming those discussions, in fact, later today. Trying to build a strong transit system, and I have people come up to me, Commissioner as well, just totally unsolicited, out of the blue. Aren't you Matt Lundy? We got to do something about transit in this county. And you hear people complain all the time about they pound their fists and make their statements that tired of paying for government assistance for people. Well, then help us get people to work.
Right.
Not everybody can own a car. 13% of Ohioans do not own a vehicle. People get up in the morning. There's no car out in front of the house, in the garage, in the driveway. There is no car. We've got to be able to get people to work. And as I tell people, if the only message you understand is the bottom line is you either pay for the government assistance or you pay for transit to get people to work. What do you want to do? And we have an aging population. We have a lot of people who have to go for medical treatment and assistance. And so transit's very important. And, as I said, the community group's been having some ongoing discussions, and hopefully we'll come up with a community plan on how best to approach this to get the support. But to be losing probably, I guess the total, as you said, probably close to $9 million, that's shameful. And everybody talks in politics about cut this, cut that, and they brag about how much they cut. Here's an opportunity for us to bring in, matching dollars. I mean, we need to look at the other side of the equation. If I can put $1 on the table and somebody else can put $1 on the table, or if I put $10 down, in the case of the airport, and you put $90 down, geez, I'll do that all day long.
You know, Commissioner,
So-
it's for lack of 10 cents, nothing I'm saying is too important to people. For lack of 10 cents, we don't get 90 cents, as you point out. For lack of 20 cents, we don't get 80 cents. Those missed opportunities cost, and let me also explain that tomorrow, if things changed, it would take us 5 years to requeue for more money. Our allocations going forward for transit are based upon prior performance, prior allocations. I can tell you that that's about a 5-year out, and I know that our allocations in the future are looking around 700,000 to 800,000 max, where they used to be 1.7, 1.8 million. And that doesn't, tomorrow, I don't call FTA and go, hey, we just got a whole lot of money and we need a whole lot more. No.
Well, we're back in the game.
They'll start programming us in,
Right.
but it will not happen quickly, much like the yield curve, because they have their plan about where the money's going and how they're phasing it into communities too. So I don't want to give the wrong impression that we could dig ourselves out tomorrow. It'll take a few years.
But we have, you know, the millennials are out there too, and, you know, the millennials aren't real thrilled about driving cars. You know, this is the up-and-coming workforce.
As of July, right now, the state of Ohio has a balance in excess of $2.8 billion in their rainy day fund. Lorain County, we don't even have a rainy day fund anymore. I honestly,
We don't even have an umbrella.
exactly. Jim might be able to answer this question. I'm not quite sure. I tried to go back a little bit. Commissioner Lundy and I were having a conversation this morning, and he asked, when was the last time we were able to put any funds in a rainy day? And I don't believe since I've been up here in the 10 years we have.
It used to be able to, and it was very restrictive, but there was the ways you could have additional fund balances. But the
Right.
rainy day could be 5% of the prior year's general fund expenditures. And we maintained that up until revenue changes, probably in 2006, 5, 7, somewhere in that area, when the revenue was already declining. We got a lot of people come in and they were upset because we were trying to cut the budget, but we had the money in the rainy day fund, and they told us it was raining. So we needed to spend that money, and of course, it was allocated out in the budgets. I just think that $2.8 billion is an amazing number when you figure out that all the revenue that's stopped coming from the state to us.
Yeah, and the state motto is, you know, take it from the safety forces, the local governments.
Exactly.
Take it from the kids, the
Exactly.
schools, and then beat your chest about having a rainy day fund. And, you know, there's been a lot of criticism about what was left in the rainy day fund from the previous administration to the new administration. You know, that's what rainy day funds are for. When you hit the worst economic times that you've hit since the Great Depression, you have to tap into the rainy day fund, and you tap it pretty hard when you need to stabilize government to continue to provide services.
Well, the biggest tap for us came right after the change from 50% to 30% in the local government. And that was a huge number. We had a struggle trying to come up with the revenue for the following year to offset that. And that's when we dissolved the rainy day fund. $2.8 billion. I mean, that's, what do you do with that? I think it's raining at the local level.
It is.
Let
They
me-
just don't realize that at the state level.
Let's also say that the state of Ohio is anemic in supporting transportation projects. In fact,
49th, I believe.
they're on a respirator. That their performance is so ill with regard to how they support those things. And I don't understand how a progressive state like Ohio could be so backward in how they look at public transportation, public rail, all the building blocks that really progressive communities have. Wherever I go when I travel, I always try to take public transportation, and I enjoy it. And you see some vibrant communities with some great public transportation. Not here. But you also know that those states are behind that public transportation and making funds available to assist local communities.
What's disappointing is the Ohio Department of Transportation did their own extensive study on public transit, and that study clearly indicated that the state was way behind the curve on meeting the needs of public transit, and they just basically totally ignored the study.
State legislature received and filed.
Yeah, that was it.
Great job, Lisa.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good
Yeah,
job.
very good.
Why don't you just pan over and see your team that also participated?
Absolutely. Casey Saunders is our purchasing coordinator, PowerPoint whiz. I threw him the numbers and he did the graphs for me, and he was helped me out quite a bit. One more thing I just wanted to add too is, you know, I've been here for almost 30 years, and I always say not a week goes by that I don't learn something. I learned so much off of doing this, so I'm glad I had the opportunity to do it.
Good.
For what it's worth, I don't know if anybody's really going to absorb this out there, but I thought it was worth throwing this up there. We're not crying wolf. We've struggled for the last several years. We somehow have made it work, but let's go back, say it again. We're borrowing money to buy cars. We're borrowing money to fix roofs. We're borrowing against the future that somebody else is going to have to write a check for. It's not a good way to do your business, and we don't have any other choice because we still have to have cars for deputies. We still have to have roofs that don't leak into the building to preserve the equity of what the public owns, because they own all these buildings and they own the Justice Center. And we're going to continue to see that scenario for the foreseeable future.
We also lost a lot of good employees that, through no fault of their own, got laid off, and positions that we've not filled because of the shortcomings in our budget.
But as I've said before, as the newest member of this board, that when I was seeking this office, I knew the future financial picture wasn't bright. I just didn't realize how dark it was and how darker it's getting each day. And it is a big concern. You know, we are constantly told in government, run government like a business. Well, what business can possibly operate when you're losing the kind of revenue that you're losing? And I realize it's different in government. You got to, you know, have the taxes and the revenue to get the assistance, but it's also frustrating when one of your major partners, the state, when the money goes down there and then the money simply doesn't come back. So you can't run government quite like a business. You know, you try to do the best you can with your limited resources, but it's so important to point out at a time when we're seeing tax break after tax break after tax break. And as I said, I'm not opposed to tax breaks in good times, but we still have lots of needs out there. And it's not fair what's going on with local governments, with restrictions on safety forces because of not being able to meet the needs. It's certainly not fair to the kids of Ohio. The charter schools are coming out grand if you're in the charter school business. But it's just a wrong approach to taking care of people in the state of Ohio. So I hope that we will post this on the county website for everybody to see. We'll probably need to get out before some community groups and let them know just how the picture is getting darker by the day with the way our finances are here. And you know, if you live out in the township, you're lucky if you have 2 deputies patrolling the roads at night, 2 deputies. And how would you like to be sitting out there in, I don't know, Huntington Township when you need a deputy to assist you in waiting for that help to arrive? The services don't go away, the needs don't go away, but the revenue has definitely gone away. And so transit, another major concern. Everybody talks about folks on government assistance, need to get people off government assistance. If you want to do that, help us support transit, help us get people to work. We have people with medical needs. So the needs don't go away. And, you know, I hope the community will understand that we need to continue to have a conversation with you because our financial picture is looking darker by the day.
Very nice.
Mr. Innes.
I do have to update several matters of pending litigation and one matter of real estate acquisition in executive session.
Commissioners report.
I know it's been a long meeting, but I do have a few things here. I want to thank the Community Foundation. I read in the paper today that they gave a little over $33,000 to our Office on Aging. That was a welcome help for them. Last Wednesday, as Commissioner Kalo mentioned, we all attended the Best of Lorain County. Great food, great, oh my gosh, there was so many
So
great.
how many ice creams did you eat?
I just ate one. I just ate one. But in the pierogi with steak inside with lobster sauce. Oh
That was,
my
that was strip.
gosh. That
That
was
was
the
their-
strip.
their
It was
entry.
really good. Oh my gosh, it was really, really nice time.
I enjoyed my Smitty's burger.
Yeah, that.
You ate the pierogi too, though.
No, I didn't.
You didn't eat the pierogi?
Anyways, Friday, I attended the second Harvest Food Bank grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony. It was a great event. A lot of people turned up.
Heard you spoke?
I did, but it was reported in the paper that I didn't. So I don't know. And I even came up with a good one. My daughter, the day before I went there, she says, I'm hangry. I'm like, what do you mean you're hangry? She was hungry and mad because she was hungry. So the new word of the day is hangry. So I said, because of this facility, there will be a lot less hangry people in Lorain County. So,
You know,
and they didn't report on it.
Mike Challenger is a board member there. He
Yes,
does a great job.
he does.
He works for us in sustainable communities. So they do some really, really important work in Lorain County.
Yes, they do. On Saturday, they had the Hope Over Heroin at Veterans Park. I thought it started at 11. I should have listened to our assistant, Tony Shanahan, told me it started at 10. Well, she put it on our calendar, and I missed an hour of that. So, and then after that, they were going to the different parks to do some cleanup and painting, and I didn't realize that was what was going on. So I didn't have painting clothes on, and so I didn't really participate. But they do have the next thing coming up September 11th and 12th at Black River Landing. You might want to pay attention to that. It's going to be really good. All the churches getting together to help in that heroin epidemic. Sunday, went to Fido's at Bar 145 in Avon. They had a fundraiser, which half of the money that they raised is going to our dog kennel for the spay and neuter program, and they raised about $5,300 for our kennel. So they are great partners. A lot of baskets, good food, good people, a lot of good volunteers that we have, and a lot of good rescues that help us over at the kennel.
You know, I said it before about Michelle and Mike. We get a lot of criticism from a lot of folks, but Mike and Michelle put their money where their mouth is. They have a large investment, personal investment in dealing with the animal abuse and the things they feel are important.
Yeah.
They have a lot of skin in the game.
Yes, they do. And then after that, we went to the finals softball game in Avon at Veterans Park. The two teams were Team Jaded Expressions. Do you remember? She was actually featured in one of our Pulse magazines. She's a young woman entrepreneur who does photography. It was against Maple Inn, and Maple Inn actually took first place, and they took second. So congratulations to them. We got a couple of accreditation we want to talk about for Lorain County Children's Services. We got a letter from Scott Ferris, who is the director there. I'd like to read it. The American Public Human Service Association, whose mission is to pursue excellence in health and human services by supporting state and local agencies, informing policymakers, and working with our partners to drive innovative, integrated, and efficient solutions in policy and practice, is featuring Lorain County Children's Services on its website as a transformation in action. The article shows how our mission-focused agency was able to achieve better outcomes for children, reduce the number of children entering foster care, lower caseloads, and engage community partners through a long-term vision and service redesign. Our agency's ability to continue to receive national interest and recognition stems from the long journey that our staff and community partners travel together. The Children's Services staff are talented and well qualified. Our community partners are involved and innovative. Our foster parents are deeply committed, and our community is wonderfully supportive. We are pleased to be able to share this recognition with you. So congratulations to our Children's Services. They're doing a really stand-up job over there.
Some changes.
Lots of changes, and changes for the good. And then Sheriff Stamidi sent us a letter he would like us to share. On Monday, June 6th, Deputy Zebik and Deputy Bungard responded to a call in reference to a 5-year-old female that was bitten severely on the leg by a dog. Deputy Zebik then responded to the hospital to check on the little girl's injury. While there, he spoke with the little girl to calm her. On Monday, July 12th, the 5-year-old girl and her mother arrived at the station because Madison wanted to see Deputy Zebik. She specifically asked for him by name. Deputy Zebik took time to come to the station and speak with Madison and her mother. He advised that Madison was very afraid of dogs now due to being bitten. Deputy Zebik arranged for Madison to meet K-9 Maggie. Corporal Metler brought K-9 Maggie to the lobby. Madison was very afraid of Maggie, but both Deputy Zebik and Corporal Metler were able to get her to pet Maggie. Deputy Zebik was then able to get Madison a couple small candy bars, coloring book, and 2 small deputy badges. I was able to watch this whole incident, and I feel Deputy Zebik and Corporal Metler should be recognized for an excellent job with Madison. They both put a lot of effort into making sure this little girl was not afraid of all dogs due to the bad incident. And also, the Deputy Zebik and Corporal Metler also made a lasting impression on Madison and her mother to show that the deputies and officers are the good guys, and they are the good guys, and that they went above and beyond to help that little girl. I'm sure it'll make a lasting effect on her. So, thank you to you guys. End of my report.
Nice report, Commissioner.
It was
You
long.
covered all those
It was
things.
a
Yeah,
long-
all those notifications we had. So, again, congratulations to all the winners from Best of Lorain County.
But we don't know the winners yet.
Well, the upcoming winners, we'll know
The
shortly.
finalists.
Yeah, well, finalists, okay. Wonderful job put together by the entire Growth Partnership and Great Lakes Publishing. Again, congratulations, City of Lorain. Great job this weekend with all the entertainment down there and all the entities that actually participated, the Palace Civic Center, all the local vendors. Went off smooth. There was multiple police departments there. Yeah, just busy week with phone calls and paperwork. I think I've gone far enough because we still have more people to do, so it's the end of my report. Commissioner Lundy?
Yeah, also enjoyed attending Best of Lorain County, and if you've never made the event, you have to make the time to be there. What I found interesting was right across from a table that was serving up a s'mores dish, which I sampled. Right across from that table was actually a trainer and a workout facility table. So I'm kind of eating and I'm looking, with a great deal of guilt at the trainer who was right across from the table. Interesting positioning of where we put these tables. Township Association meeting held Thursday. Always enjoy working with our trustees. I think we've been working extremely well with the trustees, with stormwater management and other issues of concern for them. And want to commend Jerry Innes. He did a presentation advising them on the impact of ACA. And Jerry, I'll be honest with you, before I even got here, I used to wonder how in the world does this guy keep up with everything and do everything that he does. But you do amazing work for the county, and thank you for all that you do. Congratulations, Dave, on opening up their aquatic facility over there. Wow, just a tremendous facility, very nice. And congratulations to my niece who graduated from Avon High School and be going off to Ken in the fall. She had her graduation party on Sunday with her uncle running for replacement chicken and more ice and all those things, but it was a lot of fun.
Tuesday, we'll have our investment advisory at 11 o'clock. Board correspondence?
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Public comment?
Anybody wishing to address the board this morning? Still morning? It's been a
See a
long
couple people sleeping. We must have talked too much.
We did.
No?
Did you want to introduce anybody? No? Okay.
They're going to wait until we're out.
Okay.
Okay.
Make a motion that we go into executive session as outlined by the administrator and assistant county prosecutor.
And I would second that.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.